Welcome to my channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. It helps others to discover my channel. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Catherine Rule and today I'm interviewing Susanna Taylor. Hi Susanna, thanks so much for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So you are a natural dyer. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about your work and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a natural dyer. I have a brand called Flower.dye. I've been dyeing for about 7 years. And I always wanted to, my trajectory, my professional trajectory is that I have an environmental studies bachelor's degree from UVM, and then I immediately went to Parsons and got my fashion design degree because I always wanted to do eco fashion back a long time ago when it wasn't even a thing. Like I would say eco fashion and people were like, what's that? And now it's almost not quite mainstream, but it's like, it's a thing. Like sustainable fashion is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really exciting throughout the years to see it progress. And part of that, for me, part of my version of that has been to create with natural dyes. And again, like I've been on this journey since about 2007. So back then there was nothing online about natural dyes. My first foray into natural dyes was actually, I studied abroad in the Brazilian Amazon, and I did my, for my environmental studies degree, but I did my final project. We could do whatever we wanted. I went deep into the Amazon, into a village, and learned from this small village about their natural colors that they use to color reeds that they weaved baskets out of.
Oh, wow.
And it was like just me. Like at that point I had been there for 5 months, so I knew enough Portuguese to get by because they didn't speak any English. So I'm just there like in the middle of the jungle with these amazing, just friendly people. I was staying in their house in a hammock, and like they took me around the town and showed me different roots and fruit and leaves and stuff. I wish I need to find that paper. It's like, I don't know where it is. And I don't actually know, aside from, they call it urucum. It's like, achiote. It makes like an orange. It's, annatto. That's what like the main color. It's like a food coloring that we use often. That was one of the ones that they use. The other ones are, you can't find them here and I don't know what they're called, but that was my first foray. Many years later, finally was like working freelance in New York City and would make enough money here and there over a course of years to take classes from people. And so slowly over the years, I built up my practice and slowly incorporated it into my products. Before that, I was using all repurposed materials to create my products. But my goal was always to have a natural dye brand. So that is what Flower.dye is.
Awesome.
Long story long.
Yeah. So like, what are your favorite natural dyes to use?
That's a tough one. Because it kind of always changes. Like I don't know. Favorites are hard. I guess like, I mean, cochineal's really amazing. It's a bug.
Yeah.
It's quite color fast. That's a really cool one. It really freaks people out in class because when I teach classes, because you're like, this is a bug, and they're like, ah, and then you have to grind it up in a mortar and pestle, and it has a really amazing history in Mexico and the southwestern United States. I mean, there's some that are really fun for people to start with that I started with, like raspberry dye and turmeric, which are not color fast at all.
Right.
but were
Okay.
really fun places to start in your kitchen, non-toxic, great product. So like those are ones I kind of steer people towards that are sort of some of my favorites. Red cabbage is great. And I'm not one of those natural dyers who like thinks that if colors aren't completely color fast that they're not legit. Like I think it's really cool to work with like the whole spectrum of colors from fugitive to non-fugitive. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I have any. I don't have favorites. I started growing dye flowers last year with a farm in Vermont and got to learn about all these new plants, new to me firsthand, that were really cool to use fresh. We did Coreopsis, Cosmos. I got to work with fresh indigo. Like they grew a whole field of it for me.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have favorites. Sorry, that's
No,
that's
it's
not what you're
fine.
looking
Lots of options. Too
Yeah.
many options.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you how you got started, but you kind of gave us a little bit of background with Brazil. And how did you like even get to go down there? Like, was it like an internship program or you
Yeah,
just thought of it?
it was for my environmental studies degree, I really wanted to go abroad. I thought to study, the program was Amazonian resource use and human ecology. So it it basically completed a bunch of credits for my environmental studies degree. So it was for my degree. And I just thought that was the best place to learn about, I always wanted to learn about, I always grew up hearing about the destruction of the rainforest, and I kind of wanted to be educated and see it for myself since it's something I'm so passionate about.
Yeah.
So that was my chance to do that. And we lived with families, and I lived with 4 different host families the whole time. And we went to like see where they grew soy and where they mined for bauxite, which is like the mineral that's used to create aluminum, and all this stuff. I got to see all the destruction firsthand.
Right.
And it was a very formative experience. So it was through a program called the School for International Training, which does programs all over the world, and it was a really amazing program. I highly recommend it to anyone who's college age, and I also recommend everyone, if you can, go study abroad. Obviously not right now, but it was like one of the most formative experiences for me.
And you mentioned you took classes in New York. So where did you take classes?
So I took classes. I took an indigo class and a natural dye 101 class at the Textile Arts Center, which is really cool. It's I don't know if both locations are still open or what's happening now, but there was a location in downtown Manhattan, like near Washington Square Park, and there's one in Brooklyn. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
They are great. I'm sure you know of them, right?
Yeah.
And then I took a class at FIT that I only heard about because I followed the Dogwood Dyer. Do you know her?
No.
Oh, she's
gonna
great.
check her out.
Her name is Liz Spencer. She's just like a magical, sweet human. Love her. And she somehow, I don't know how I found out about her. She used to live in Brooklyn, and she taught all around.
Yeah.
So I think I've taken at least 2 classes with her. I also took a class with her at the Brooklyn Grange, which is where I've taught myself. I kind of took over for Liz actually when she moved to the West Coast.
Okay.
So in a way, she's kind of a mentor.
Yeah.
But really, I've just like taken a couple of her classes, and she's just amazing. She shares a lot of information on her Instagram.
Cool. I'm gonna definitely go follow her and check her out.
So yeah, FIT, Textile Art Center and the Brooklyn Grange are the 3 places I learned and took classes.
And then like probably some self-exploration, like taught stuff in between.
Yeah,
right?
and I definitely have done, you know, my fair share of experimenting, but I would say, for everyone out there who's interested, like definitely take at least one foundational class. And also I think I see a lot of people like just trying to learn from random stuff they find online, like an article on Refinery 29, and it's like it's just a very nuanced art, as you know, you're a natural dyer, and I think it's important to like appreciate that. I think a lot of people think like, oh, it's just like tie dyeing in your backyard, or like the camp tie dyeing you do with like RIT dye or chemical dye, and it's such a it's just more nuanced than that. I get a lot of questions in my DMs about stuff, and it's hard for me to like give one sentence answers. I now offer like a Zoom one-on-one session, which I refer people to. And I also think it's important to pay artists for their information that they've worked for years to get. Like, I think we live in like a very fast-paced culture where it's like, oh, I just want to like learn this thing, and I've been doing this for 7 years, and or more if you count like my thing in Brazil, and I'm still learning every day. So
yeah, same here.
I would say, yeah,
definitely. Well, that's really cool that you have the Zoom one-on-one, so people can like dig in and ask questions and show you what they're doing, and you can show them.
And then I give them like afterwards, like it opens up my time to help them like with their journey afterwards, because I just don't have time to like answer a lot of questions that come in that when people are like trying to learn from like a random tutorial online, and then they're like, what's happening here and here, and there's just so many variables that it's just so hard to troubleshoot if you're not like one-on-one with someone, like it more in depth, basically.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Where do you look for inspiration?
I am working from home. My parents just like reached in. I would say, well, I'm actually since I have like a fashion background, I really am inspired by fashion and nature, honestly, which is like what my brand is. But I do love to go, like, I'll go on Vogue.com on like the runway section and just like look at runway shows from like all past years, and and just I would say that's my main inspiration. Even less than like art. I hate to say it.
Same here. I like studied fashion in college, and I started out in apparel, and then I moved into home, and then I like got really into dyeing. So I also like still always start with that, and even just like looking around on the street, like what is everybody wearing, you know, that kind of stuff. Like I love it. All right, how has social media played a role in your career?
Social media has been amazing, mostly Instagram. I can't really deal with Facebook. It's just it feels like messy to me. As an aesthetic person, it's like, but yeah, I actually started, like my first foray was like, I had a Tumblr like years and years ago, just for like inspiration and like kind of honing my aesthetic, aging myself there.
Same here. I had a Tumblr. I think I might even have one still somewhere. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, mine's still up.
Yeah.
It's still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, but Instagram's been an amazing tool. I couldn't do what I do without it. I've done Instagram, like I'll do like sample sales on stories, which always do really well. I mean, it's just an amazing free tool to get to connect you with people, and it's like well laid out, and yeah, it's kind of everything. I don't even really send out emails because I'm so busy creating products as a one-woman show.
Yeah.
That like Instagram works because it's instant, and like I can take a photo and put it on there, and like writing and like doing a full email takes like a day. Like it's honestly a day's work. When I have the glorious day when I have employees, that is something that I will have them do. But right now, social media is everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Instagram. It's like, I think it's like such a great way to build community too. And like,
I know.
I like have met a lot of really cool people on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and like collaborated with them. And like,
Totally.
you know, it helps them and it helps me. And it's just like, it's also like just fun. So, I'm like
Yeah,
addicted.
that's so many people on Instagram. Like it's actually changed my life. The people that I've connected with have made me feel like, oh, I'm not like this weird witch who like is into all this weird stuff. I feel like it's really empowered people to be like more individual, and it's empowered some like really important movements, and yeah, it's amazing.
And I'm always like surprised by like the stuff that people like gets a positive response.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I'll post something just whatever, and then like I'll get like a bunch of DMs. Like usually it's like something like a little bit more about like my personal life or something. People are like,
Totally.
oh yeah, like whatever, like
I
like my
know.
favorite cream puff or whatever. People will be like, I love those, or like I
I
know where that
know.
store is. It's so
I
funny.
know. I think that kind of I think it's really helped people be more like vulnerable too. Like every time I share something that's like personal, like on my other account, it gets the most response. Like anything that's about like my health or like my personal life. And you're like, oh, there's like all these people out there waiting to just like be supportive and like connect about these things that you felt like you were sort of alone with. So on a deeper level, also, it's like, it's
I
just,
think especially now, it's like really heightened. So yeah, it's a
mm-hmm.
powerful, powerful tool.
Yeah.
What is your biggest challenge when it comes to your art and your work?
Probably just time, and in the past, it's been resources because um, I've always been self-funded, and I was like living in New York City as an artisan, paying off school loans.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always just like basically any money I made would be recycled back into the business. And that was a challenge. And like, I don't know, it's something that people don't like to talk about, is like money, and it's still taboo even in 2020. But I don't know, I like to say it also just in case there's someone else out there who's like, I'm thinking the same thing, because people don't, they only show like, you know, what they're, you know, even we did just talk about the vulnerability of social media, but I still think like people are showing their lives, and sometimes I'm like, how are you, like, how do you get to do that thing, and like how are you being supported, like certain like
Mm-hmm.
artists or whatever, like for, I don't know. Anyways, I like to just tell people that's been the challenge for me for most of my career, was just like being able to even like buy the silk to make my products.
For sure, for sure.
And I just kept doing it long enough where now I feel a little more stable in that department, but it's still like I still work my ass off. And so that's the other challenge I would say, is like I just like work a lot because I'm one person, and hopefully when I move upstate, I will be a little less of a workaholic. But you know, being in New York City, it's kind of in the air too. So
And
yeah,
you'll
I
have
would
more
say
space, room
more
to like
space. I
put
mean,
stuff
that's been a
out.
challenge too. Like the
Yeah.
spaces that I've worked in New York have been, I mean, like currently I'm in the corner of a bedroom.
Yeah.
But I've worked in like my friend's music studio in a basement in Chinatown, like on just like a desk in a room that they had there. Like, you know, it's been a long journey. Let's just put
I hear ya.
it that way.
Well, I'm excited for you and your new journey. So,
Thank you.
what kind of advice would you give to someone who is just starting out?
I would say, trying to think like what I would have wanted someone to tell me. Yeah, I guess like I just I love creating so much. Like I have to do it to be happy.
Yeah.
So if you have that thing I am that way to the fault of like every time I worked a regular job, I was like so annoyed all the time. And like, I just was like, I would like get home and start creating, and like, I would like feel better in my body again. And like, I just like, I like have to do this. So if you have that thing, then like, you just have to keep going until you find something that can like sustain you, I guess. Financially, just like never give up. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, just keep going.
just keep going, like keep honing your craft. Because the other thing is like, I feel like when people on their journey, like me included, like at the beginning, I'm like, I'm working so hard. Like, why is this not more like lucrative? Or why is this not like more, I don't know. You just like, you feel like you've put so much effort in and like you should be in a certain place. And it's like, no, like the people that have really gotten somewhere, you have no idea how much work they've put in. Like
Totally.
you might think like, oh, I should be in this place by now. And it's like, you just got to keep going. Like,
Yeah.
like there's no quota for like, oh, well, I've done this, or I've made this. Like now it's time for like me to, you know, have my moment or whatever. So I think, yeah, I think just keep going. And like, hopefully you still enjoy what you're doing. Like, you know, make sure there's still joy in it, because if there's not, like that will come through energetically in your business and in your pieces. So that's also important.
Yeah. I can really relate to what you're saying. Like, I just have to make stuff to feel happy. It just, it keeps coming up, and
it's like therapy.
Yeah. And it's really important. And I always like kind of talk about that. You know, I just think it's just, even if I don't like post something about it, the thing I just made or whatever, like I do stuff that I don't always post about too. And, you know, but I'm always like, I actually always have like probably like 7 projects going. So, but like, it's hard to like, I have to like make sure I finish them. That's probably one of my challenges, but yeah, I get it. And it's really important for me to always have that. And, you know, that's part of what I consider being like an artist. So, you know, that need to create.
I think it is really important. And I think it's not as, it can be seen in like in our culture as like this like trite, like, oh, that's like a cute hobby. And it's like, no, this is like my like this is my therapy. This is my like how I express myself. Like, I just think it's so important for people for whom that is what makes them happy. Like, I just think it's like, it's so it's just important, and like it shouldn't be overlooked as like just like a small little trite activity.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to ask you about any upcoming projects you would like to talk about. What's going on with you and your work right now, and tell everyone where they can find your products, where they can follow you.
Yeah, I'm actually launching a little collection of robes, of silk robes this week, which I'm excited about. I'm wearing one of them right now.
Cute.
Naturally tie-dyed. I'm always like just expanding what I'm selling, and I'm excited. The farm that I grow dye flowers and plants with in Vermont will, it's like the apex of the season right now. Obviously, it's August and September are harvest time. So I'm moving in 2 weeks upstate, but after I'm moved, I will go up there and like harvest some of the flowers and do some dyeing in the field, which is like the highlight of my year, because I just get to go and hang out in this beautiful field in Vermont and like dye things like in a literal cauldron that we just like put it on rocks like with fire underneath it and like dye with fresh flowers, and then I get to sell those items that are are imbued with like Vermont summer plants.
That sounds like so pretty. Like, I hope you guys can get like a videographer or something to like capture that, because it'd be like so cool.
I know. So I taught a class there last year in the field, and we got to like pick flowers and then dye with them, and we were going to do that this year, but we had to cancel because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I did take a lot of photos last year, and actually their field is like the landing page of my website. It's like a field of flowers. So yeah, I definitely will take more photos again this year. So yeah, always coming out with new products, and always looking for more ways to like connect back to the earth directly as time goes on. I'm excited to find some more farms to work with when I move upstate. I love working with farms directly because it helps me learn about agriculture and the seasons and the actual plants that I've been working with in like a more dried form for years here in the city. So yeah, I guess that's one of the things.
Yeah, like added connection to the earth. That sounds nice.
We crave that here in Brooklyn.
Totally. All right. Well, I will put your website down in the show notes so people can go and look and see. And also
it's flower.dye.blue.
Okay. And your Instagram is at
flower.dye.
Flower.dye, and I will put that down in the show notes for everybody. Well, thank you so much, Susanna, for coming and talking to me. I really appreciate it. And good luck on your move. That's like a lot of work, so stressful. So thank you for taking the time to meet with me. And
thank you so much. This is a great way to kick off my Friday morning.
Yeah. All right. Well, goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you think would like it.